Something that I realized early on in my trading career was that one of the biggest differences between professional and amateur traders was that the professional traders had a thorough understanding of the product they were trading. There are a lot more intricacies than first meet the eye when it comes to options, and this has caused a gap between what the professional traders do and what everyone else is left with. So in this video, I'm going to break down for you the 5 key characteristics of an option. And if you can understand these 5 key characteristics, it's going to start to create an image in your mind of what an option really is. And it'll give you a lot more insight into what you should be learning if you want to be trading these things profitably. So if you're excited for this video, be sure to subscribe. I'm going to be releasing a ton more content just like this video. And if you consume all of these bits of content that we put out, I promise you're going to be well set up for a lifelong career in trading. So let's hop right into it. The first characteristic that we need to understand about options is that options are a contract. So what do I mean by this? Well, when you buy or sell an option, there is actually no physical stock exchanged. It is just a contract that is created when you buy and sell them. As a matter of fact, options aren't even traded in the same market as stocks. There is an entirely separate options market where these contracts are created, bought, and sold. So what do these contracts mean? What do they give you? Well, that's our second characteristic of options, which is that options contracts give you either the right to buy or the right to sell a stock at a given price.
So you get the right to buy or sell.
So as the purchaser of an options contract, you get the right to buy or sell a stock at a given price. And as the seller of an options contract, you are creating the obligation to fulfill that purchase or sale at the price that you determine for the contract. Now that we understand that the option is a contract and that it creates an obligation for the seller and a right for the buyer, the next important thing to remember about options is that they actually take place between two people.
So it's between two people.
And this is something that the majority of new traders actually forget. When they come into the market, they have this feeling of it's them versus the market, which isn't actually incorrect because you are betting against the market consensus, but we need to be careful about how we picture this in our minds. It is not like a blackjack table where we sit down and place bets against the house or the market. It's closer to a poker table where we and other players come and play this game together where we actually bet against each other. So whenever you're either buying or selling an option, there is actually another person on the other side of that trade. So what's the significance of someone being on the other side? Well, think about it. If somebody's on the other side of your trade, that means that they have the opposite view of you. You're purchasing this option, you think that this right is worth purchasing, and they're selling it to you because they think it's not worth owning. And this is important because it reminds us that we need to do good research and have an edge over the person on the other side if we want to win in the long run. So now we kind of have the gist of what an option is, right? It's a contract that gives you the right to buy or sell. There's two people, one person on each side of the trade. So what are the other 2 things we need to know in order to understand what an option is? Number 4 is that option contracts have a time frame associated with them.
Right? So they have a time frame.
Think about it. Options don't just go on forever, right? These contracts aren't in perpetuity. All of them have a time frame with them, whether it's 7 days, 30 days, 60 days. It's the amount of time remaining until that contract expires. And this is important because think about it. If there was no expiry, you could just buy or sell at any point in the future. Well, that doesn't make sense for the seller. The seller's not going to agree to that. So all of these contracts have a time frame associated with them, just like the majority of other contracts. So the last thing that we need to understand about options before we can go ahead and start analyzing them is that there is a reason why someone sells you these. Right now, based on what we've talked about, where's the benefit for the seller in this situation? There's absolutely no reason, based on what we've talked about, that someone would sell you an options contract. So the reason someone would sell you an options contract is because there is a premium associated with that contract.
So options come with a premium.
And this is important to understand because that premium is actually the price of the options contract. As the buyer of an option, you pay for that option. It's not something you get for free. And that payment goes straight into the pocket of the person who sells you the option. So what do we have here now? We have a contract that somebody pays to buy. It has a time frame associated with it, and within that time frame, you get the right to buy or sell the stock. We can start to see how all of this is coming together now to create a market of people betting on what's going to happen in the future of the stock. And that's actually something we're going to get into in a later video. Now that we know all the parts of an option, these are all the parts that make up an options market. Now we need to understand what actually drives this market. What are people betting on when they purchase and sell these contracts? In the end of the day, remember, this is a competitive game. There is some form of disagreement between the buyers and sellers that they are placing bets on when they engage in this market. So before moving on to further episodes in this series, make sure to do some research. Look up these different terms. Look up what makes up an options contract and make sure that you have a thorough understanding of the basics about the product you're trying to trade. It gets a lot more complex than this. We can go into the risks associated with it, how we can isolate risks, how do we use options to take views on the market. There is so much more to go into, but without this fundamental understanding of options, we are not going to be able to wrap our heads around those concepts and use them to place better trades. So for the rest of this series, we're going to be going in depth on concepts just like this. So if you like what you're learning, be sure to subscribe. I'm going to be releasing a video every single day. This is the type of education that has been missing from the retail market for a very long time, and it's created a gap between professional traders and amateur traders. My mission with this channel is to start bridging that gap, providing the content you need to start thinking and trading just like the professionals. So if you've made it this far, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.